there everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, I just got back from an 8-hour long road trip, met some cool people, cried a little bit, spent some money, cried a little more, and found out Facebook Marketplace is slowly killing me from the inside out. Ready to go find out what we bought this time? Let's go check it out. Just doesn't get any better than this. Well, here it is! My Facebook Marketplace trophy. The trophy for looking at pictures entirely way too long and convincing yourself that they actually look pretty decent, when in reality you just have a sickness for buying these old Landcruisers that are just completely rusted out, ready for the junkyard, the garbage men, you know, whatever. This is a 1972 FJ55 Iron Pig that's been sitting on its frame rails next to a lake in Virginia since 1994. Let's go talk to Thomas, the previous owner, and find out a little bit more about this vehicle before we start diving into the thing that's falling apart behind me. Hey guys, well, unfortunately there's something I don't need but did buy sitting behind me. The old owner, who was kind of the mid guy of the whole entire pig behind me, is finally giving it up to hopefully get it back on the road on the Mize Adventure headquarters back in DC, Virginia. So this is Thomas. Thanks Thomas for sending this beautiful gem that's not rusty at all, falling apart, and it's going to be running by tonight to me. I appreciate it. Absolutely. The reason I want to film about this because this truck has kind of a really colorful history. And can you give me a little bit of history on like how you found it? Like, where was it? It was close to here, an hour? Or?
Yeah, it was maybe 20 minutes from here. And I knew about it for a long time. I didn't know what kind of Landcruiser it was. We're friends with the family, with the owner of it. And my dad said, hey, you're into Landcruisers. Broadus has a Landcruiser. It's up at the lake. I don't know what kind, I don't know the story behind it. So for years I kept bothering Broadus, and finally he kind of gave up on it, and he's like, yeah, it's there, go take a look at it. My wife and I drove out there, and it was parked in the woods. It had been driven up a dirt road that trees grew over the road, so there was no way to get it out at the time. Pretty much sitting on the frame rails, and my wife went crazy, so we pursued it, and we had to cut trees down to get it out, and using other Landcruisers, winched it out of the woods. It seemed like it was in better shape than what I thought.
We all know that's usually how it goes. All Landcruisers look better when they're in the woods, sunk into the ground.
Yep.
There's actually a picture of what it looked like in the woods, which I'll put on the screen now. It's pretty miraculous that they even got it out of there. His good friend Matt used his 60 series to winch it out. I think there's a picture of that too, yep. So we'll put that up there. So thanks for living the 60 series where it's best at use in the woods, pulling other Landcruisers out of the mud. So it was parked up there from the original owner. So the gentleman that had it, was the original owner, like second owner?
He was the second owner. Second owner. And he bought it in the mid 80s, early mid 80s. It was a daily driver, drove it all over town. Took it to Toyota dealership for an oil change, and they drained the oil. Never filled it back up. He drove it home, motor blew. So him and some friends swapped the motor over the weekend into it, which is how it has the FF in it now. And he continued daily driving it until 93 or 94. He got married and realized that he needed something better, more reliable
Probably
to drive.
From his wife that said, I'm not riding in that rickety thing with all the stickers and no rust on it. But going back to the 1F story, that's kind of crazy that Toyota did an oil change, didn't put oil back into it. You hear stories like that all the time. And the 1Fs are notorious for oiling issues already. So I can't even imagine what sounds it was making when it left. But it did get the slight upgrade at the time, which is the 1.5 motor, the F155, which is cool. it does turn over, and hopeful that we actually will get this truck running and at least driving a little bit down the road. So back to the woods, you're there. He parked it at Smith Mountain Lake.
Smith Mountain Lake.
Smith Mountain Lake. It's some property the old gentleman had, and you bought it, you brought it home. And originally I saw this on Facebook, the story coming to life, and I was like, that guy is so badass for doing this. I love the pictures, and I was bummed because it was kind of somewhat close, 3 hours away, that this truck existed. So I was super jealous already when I saw this thing. It's just got a kind of a cool patina. The stickers on it are super cool and tell the story of the truck. So when you got it home, or to this where we are now,
it didn't come here.
It didn't come here.
So we took it to my mother-in-law's house. It was parked there, and I cleaned it, pressure washed it, kind of started going through it, pulled the valve cover on it. It looked amazing. It had a lot of promise, and shortly thereafter, I deployed overseas for a year. While I was gone, Roanoke County left a message saying you get 10 days to move this vehicle because of where it was parked. I was in Africa. I can't just come home and move the vehicle.
Right.
So Matt went and picked it up and brought it out here to where it was where he found it.
Reciting.
Yep.
So it had been sitting in that lot for what, like 2 or 3 years?
Which one?
This, your first lot when you bought it, right?
It sat there for probably 8 months.
Okay.
Yep.
So put it in 8 months. It pulled it out of the woods, sunk to the frame rails, and it's sitting there. And when we're talking on the phone to make a deal for this vehicle, he's saying, yeah, I deployed. Oh yeah, the rear quarter just fell off and it's sitting on the the pavement. And that's when I knew this project was just a little too far gone. Is that what you're saying? You're just like, it's a parts truck. Like, we're not doing anything else with it.
It needed a body, and people want an arm and a leg for a body. I just didn't have the
all
resources.
out west. They're not here.
They're not here
in the East Coast.
So instead of sitting on it and it getting in worse shape, I knew I had to kind of move on with it. So
he gives it to me to sit in my yard. It's really good. Like you were saying, it's really good at sitting.
Does a great job.
Really great job. So that was pretty funny earlier. So just to kind of close up, it's a 1972 Pig. The interior is immaculate. The motor is not locked. It needs brakes really bad, or just gone through. Who knows what the gas tank's like. So we're gonna take that back to Virginia, to my place, hopefully get it running. And the money that we basically paid for this truck is going to fund a couple of your other Landcruiser projects, because no Landcruiser guy just has one.
Yep.
He buys another one to keep the miles off the other one, to keep the miles off the other one. It's just the way it goes. So what other kind of trucks do you have sitting in your little arsenal at home that you wheel, you're working on, the money for this is going into?
So I've got a 1972 FJ40.
Sick.
And that's my wheeling rig. I can push that one, beat on it a little bit. I love that truck. I've got a 94 80 series that's currently on jack stands in my wife's parking spot in the house.
Love it.
So yeah, this is going to really help get that out of that spot. And then a 2004 100 series.
Okay. I remember you talking to me about the 100 series, because you were saying, was it the 80 or the 100 that you're using this money to buy bumpers for?
For the 100, yep.
Okay. Yeah, 100s are cool, man. I mean, those are going to be the next ones coming up in value soon. I mean, they're already worth quite a bit of money now. So really excited to see that project come together, let alone all your other ones. So we are out in Roanoke, Virginia, and they actually have a chapter of the Landcruiser Club. It's a Rock City Cruiser.
Star City Landcruiser.
Star City Landcruisers. They have, what, 30, 40 members, which is pretty good for a Landcruiser community. It's really cool. They do a lot of wheeling out here, so check those guys out. And I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for letting me take this rusty piece home. So let's see if we can make it home 3 hours and get her running by the end of the weekend. Well, as you can see, this truck's got a really cool story, if I don't say so myself. I'm just not really sure I'm ready to continue the story of this vehicle, but I've kind of got myself into a predicament, and it's sitting behind me. So here's the plan. The motor's not locked up, thankfully, since the previous owner put all of that lubrication in the cylinders. So we're gonna get this dang thing to run. We're gonna hopefully get it to move. I think that the clutch pedal isn't stuck. We just gotta bleed it. We might get it to stop. Who knows if the brakes even work? I didn't even test those. Barely looked at the dang thing. It was basically falling apart in my hands, and I was just crying, you know? But the interior in this truck, all jokes aside, super complete, super clean. Really hard to find that, especially an unripped bench seat for the front. Gosh, that's a hard one to find. The body, it's shot. The drivetrain, complete. Frame, decent shape. That's why we bought this dang thing. So while you guys are thinking about what I should do after we get it running, driving, and whatever, I'm gonna unload this thing, because it's been a long day, and I need a nap. Maybe a beer, or a soda, or some tissues to cry about the decisions I've made recently. Well, I've been staring at this thing on the trailer in my yard all weekend, questioning my decisions every day. There's only one conclusion, and that is to try to get something to happen with this vehicle, which might be a little harder than expected because we forgot the keys out in Roanoke 3 hours away. No big deal. So what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna bleed the clutch master, see if we get a clutch pedal, and we're gonna slap battery on it and try to hot wire the dang thing, but that might be impossible. Basically a waste of time because it's the battery that we used to winch it on the trailer, which is still dead. You know, whatever. We're making progress, right? We're still here with it. Hasn't driven it off the cliff. Well, it's a swing and a miss. First strikeout. We put some fluid into the clutch master and then the slave cylinder. We checked the bleeder screw. There's no fluid getting down there, so it could be one of the hoses that's just shut, or the complete slave just needs to be replaced because it's probably junk from sitting in the woods since the 90s. Our second swing and a miss is that there's no ground battery cable, so we're gonna have to use our trusty vice grips to get this on there and pray that there's actually a good ground. And then we're gonna get our hot wire stuff and see if we can get this thing to turn over. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? So we're gonna go ahead and use our little alligator clip here. We're gonna clip it down to the starter, which would have acted as if we had a key. And we're gonna see if this thing does anything. It's already running a hot to the battery. We're just gonna tap this to the hot side of the battery as if we were turning on the ignition. Tell us if the motor does anything. So let's see. Well, that's a relief. Well, I have some good news and mostly some bad news, but some of the good news being is the key for this truck finally got here from Roanoke, Virginia. Bad news is it only works in the doors and not the ignition. Good news, truck is off the trailer. Bad news, we didn't drive it off the trailer, so everything I did in the last few clips, they didn't actually do anything. It was a complete waste of time. More bad news is we have this go to AutoZone, O'Reilly's, or Advanced Auto, steal my car key barrel that needs to be installed, because that's what's installed in this vehicle currently, and that's probably why I got the original key and not the ignition key. So we're gonna get this installed and hopefully we get some crankage and not more bad news. We want good news, good vibes. All right, she's turning over. Well, this little girl, she's a fighter. All I'm saying is we had to break out the extra special tools, which actually is a must-have when you're working on an old Landcruiser, and that is a test light. We started pin testing a few things, and it is apparent to me we're not getting any type of electricity to that electronic distributor, which I thought it was going to be points. It is not points. This stuff just looks like it's been just hacked, and I can't figure out where the line would go to get power for that. But we are with getting keyed power down from this actual little guy here. So we're gonna go ahead and run a line over to that distributor, pull a points distributor from this FJ55, which will soon be getting a motor, which don't ask me why. We're gonna put that points distributor in this truck and see if we can get this thing to bark off. A little bit of musical chairs never hurt anybody, you know what I'm saying? Just need some music and a chair. Less Landcruisers. Well, taking out that other distributor was a cinch, you know. Of all the spark plug wires, 112 million, out she came. This motor's a little different because we actually want to see if it's going to run. So we got to do a couple things to prepare to accept that new distributor. First, we're going to go ahead and pull our number one spark plug out, which I've already gone ahead and done, as this is the one we were using to test spark. We're then going to go ahead and bump over the motor until we feel a little bit of a puff of air come out of the number one cylinder, and that is going to let us know that we're on the compression stroke at top dead center. We're then going to move over to the distributor. We're going to pop that cap off, see where that rotor is pointing. Should be pointing at number one, but that's going to give us an idea of where it needs to be pointing for our new distributor to go in, or our new distributor. Once we have that all set up, we'll go ahead and pull this guy out and slip in the other one and cross our fingers we're getting spark and maybe this thing will crank over. That's where we need to be. I'm going to back this up slightly. That's where I want it, right there, I think. We have to get this thing to seat with the oil pump. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the motor over slowly until it pops in. Well, that's not a little peanut, little points distributor. That in fact is a DUI distributor that had in storage, basically a Chevy one-wire distributor that you can buy online. Basically you wire a 12 volts straight to it and you will get some spark to your spark plugs. I went this route as a little bit of a cop out because I couldn't figure out any of the wiring here. It looks like it had been butchered at one time, and honestly nothing's really working, so I want to make sure that this truck runs before we do anything further to it. So as you can see here, it is getting a healthy little bit of spark there on the number one spark plug. That means only one thing: we just got to dump something down its throat and pray that she cranks over for the first time since 1993. So let's jump on it, throw something down its throat, and turn that key. All right, we threw another battery on this old girl. Let's see if she will take off for us now. Let's see what happens here. Well, you guys saw first. This old piggy just ran since the first time since 1993. That is unflippin' believable. Heck yeah! After our success of getting this thing to fire off, we went ahead and put a different Toyota Landcruiser 2F starter on here. Got rid of that ginormous one, which I think was on its way out. We have a fresh battery back on the truck, and we're gonna go see if we can get this thing to turn over for a little longer than just barking off. Love to hear it idle, no guarantees there. So let's turn the key, see what happens. Heck yeah! That was a heck of a first start. That other stuff was just, didn't even count. That was unbelievable. This truck is absolutely a runner. Now I'm more excited about trying to get her to move, because if she's running, she'll move. I'm gonna check for some fuel. I wanna see if that fuel pump works. Amazing! We have a fuel pump. Did not expect that one coming. Dude, this thing is idling. Oh, fuel pump is leaking. That's a shame. I mean, that is a win in any book. The fuel pump is leaking a little bit. It's just been sitting, all that stuff gets hard and crusty and eventually just breaks down with that fuel. Let's see if we can get that clutch to free up. Well, we've gone ahead and pulled our slave, which is, well, it's seen better days, let's be honest. Our master here for the clutch has also seen better days. As you'll see in this footage, it's not really putting out any fluid. So how can we bleed a clutch without that stuff? Well, when you have a whole bunch of these old things, just think outside the box. Yep, we replaced the master and clutch on this old piggy. So we're gonna steal some more parts off of it. Yep, that's all it's really good for, honestly. That's why it should really be a parts truck. We got the master from the other 55 on the truck here, and we went ahead and had to blow out the line with some compressed air. As you can see, once we push the pedal now, we have fluid coming down to where the actual slave will connect to the transmission bell housing. So let's go get the slave out of this piggy. Again, more picking parts. We got all the clutch components all back in the truck, and we're trying to bleed the clutch one-man band style here with this stick that I got in the woods from the truck that's sitting here. We'll run over here. Oh yeah, that was a good bleed. It's a great way to stay in shape, bleeding a clutch by yourself. We're about to take this truck on its first historic journey since it was parked many years ago. We're not going to go far, we're just going to do some forward and backwards action. See if all that clutch work, Mickey Mouse stuff actually did something. So let's jump in the truck, get her started, see if she moves. That was unbelievable! That was a great ride. She has no brakes though. That's kind of an issue. Well, that's going to be the conclusion of this episode. As you can see, this Iron Pig has come a tremendously long way since she was parked out in the woods since the 90s. She's got everything wrong with her. But I want to hear from you all. What should we do with this truck? Obviously, we didn't drive it down the road and she's not running on the gas tank and the brakes still don't work. Do you want me to finish the brakes? Go through the drum brakes? Maybe disc brake conversion it with some 60 series stuff? You tell me. I've always wanted to wheel one of these, and this is actually probably a pretty good candidate to take out wheeling. But for right now, we slapped some mud tires on to kind of get the juices flowing in the mind. But let me know what you think. Think about this episode, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, like and share these videos. I'd really appreciate it. For now, I'm gonna finish putting these Mickey Thompsons on this thing.